And hi everyone, I'm Ansley Sutter. If I have not met you yet, it's a pleasure. I provide the social media training and communications for Rent Media Solutions. And in today's session, we are going to cover the ABCs of social marketing, if you will, some buzzwords and some really important, almost social vocabulary words you need to know. So in this session, we're going to delve into and define words and trends most used in the social space, as well as ways we can use and adopt these words and trend into the multifamily industry. So before we get started, we are using the hashtag FRMSchat. You see that in the lower left-hand corner of your screen there. So if you have any feedback, any questions, you might have some insight, feel free to use the hashtag, and one randomly selected person will receive a $20 gift card. So be on the lookout for that. We really appreciate and we reward your participation. So we're going to announce the winner toward the end of our webinar. And before I get into our agenda, I always like to say why we harp on social media, not just every month, but every day. It's a lifestyle for us at ForRent Media Solutions. If you're not familiar with FR Social, I encourage you to get in touch with your ForRent account rep. But FR Social is a rich suite of tools exclusive to you, exclusive to ForRent customers only. And FR Social is a social media solution made easy. FR Social Expert concentrates on management, on advertising, social listening, and social education, giving you the time to make your social marketing easy. This package includes tools designed to enhance your audience engagement and improve your online reputation, driving more leads to you. And FR Social positions you to gain a competitive edge by utilizing social media for your brand, for your community. This is why we touch on social media every single month, every single day. Like I said, social media is a lifestyle for us. The goal is to get you trained on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on Vine, and any other emerging social network that we feel would be a great fit for you and for the multifamily industry. We're going to train ourselves on it so that we can port that information to you. So this is why we really want to touch on social media in general so that you can use FR Social at its optimal capacity. So again, if you are interested in learning more about or becoming an FR Social Expert customer, be sure to get with your ForRent account rep and we can set up a quick demo for you. So moving right along, let's start off with why we need to be in touch with buzzwords, okay? So from there, we will go over a list of most used terms. Once you get kind of a good sense of what these words and terms mean, I'll share some ways you can implement the material. And as always, I send you on your way with some special valuable links that you can use today. Well, lastly, we will wrap up things with a Q&A session. So if you're not asking questions on Twitter, if you don't have any questions to send in through the go-to panel, hold those to the end and I'll get to those as well. I also want to remind you that there are two ways you can ask questions like I just mentioned. The first way is by going to using the go-to webinar questions box you have available to you. I have it up and running right now so I can see those questions come in real time. And I'll most likely answer your questions on the spot or during the content that we go over. But if I don't, I can respond to your question that way. Also, the second option you have is for you folks on Twitter following along. If you're using our hashtag FRMSchat, our FR Social Expert is interacting with you right now. So they are live on the Twitter chat if you want to be on Twitter and kind of listen in that way as well. We are going to be interacting with you on Twitter, and I will actually be jumping on Twitter as Apartments for Rent, APTS FORRENT, to answer any questions you may have at the end of the session. So just be on the lookout that you are most welcome to ask your questions through the go-to panel also ask your questions through Twitter, and I will be jumping on Twitter after the webinar to continue our conversation there. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started and kind of talk about why buzzwords, social marketing buzzwords in particular, are so important to know. Buzzwords in general get a bad rep. You know, you think about all the times, and I've probably mentioned a plethora of buzzwords in the last 24 hours, and many of you are probably sick of hearing the term, leverage or paradigm shift or traction or any other phrases that we have all used within the last 24 hours. But social buzzwords are a bit different in the sense that utilizing them can help build up your social strategy. So unlike general buzzwords, social buzzwords are more of ideas and trends than actual lingo. So let's go ahead and delve into the ABCs of social marketing. And we're not going to hit every alphabet or every letter in the alphabet because that would take forever. But I'm pulling some of them, and we are going in alphabetical order just so you can keep track. So the first term to know is augmented reality, also known as AR, which is a live, direct, or indirect view of a physical, real-world environment whose elements are augmented by computer-generated sensory input, maybe such as sound or video or a graphic or GPS data. So it can be a combination or one of those things. Augmented reality is related to a more kind of general concept called mediated reality, in which a view of reality is modified by a smart device. So let's kind of drill it down and simplify the concept here. Augmented reality for our purposes is when a resident or prospect will download an app like what you see here, Layer, which is a very popular app. And if you put this technology in the hands of your residents or prospects, they've probably downloaded the app like Layer, where they can hold up their smartphone to find local businesses. Maybe they want to find a local restaurant or a park. So they literally can have the app running, hold up their phone, and within, a mile, 2-mile radius, they found several apartment communities. So the cool thing is your apartment community is not only getting exposure online, not only getting exposure in our For Rent, our book that we have for you that's located in various places. Your property is getting exposure on mobile devices, and we know how popular mobile is these days. I mean, I believe like just last year alone, more mobile devices were purchased than laptops and desktop computers. So that if that's any indication as to where we're going mobily, you best believe that you want your community to be found on an app like Layer. So this is great news for you, is that your apartment community will display in the app when someone is using it or in your general area. So if you encounter maybe a prospect whose hot button or selling point is what's around me, what's located around me, it's all about convenience. I want a dry cleaners, no more than 2 miles. I want a local deli shop. I want a gym. So if all of those things are located around you, suggest that your prospect download the Layer app and just kind of take a walk around town, and they can kind of see what local businesses are around your property, and they can gauge the local eateries and the businesses close by. And you may have just gained a resident out of that. Next up is B, big data. We've talked about big data before, or datization as it's so often called, which drives and optimizes our decisions. So if you're not familiar, according to Search Business Analytics, big data analytics is the process of examining huge amounts of data of a plethora, a variety of types to kind of uncover the hidden patterns within them. Unknown, it's going to pull unknown correlations and other useful information that we wouldn't be able to tell by the naked eye just because the amount of information is so great. And such information can provide competitive advantages over rival organizations, like some competing properties around your area, for example, and result in business benefits such as more effective marketing and increased revenue. That's what we all want, right? So multifamily marketers are using big data that will help us really better predict prospect behavior. That's why we use it. Now, over 2.7 zettabytes of digital data, yes, I said zettabytes, exist today, and the International Data Corporation estimates that by 2020, business transactions on the internet will reach $450 billion a day. That's an astounding number, but kind of just consider that close to 1 million websites have integrated with Facebook, right? So 1 million websites like Spotify, Pinterest, Instagram, all these websites and other apps have integrated with Facebook, and there are 575 likes and 81 comments made by Instagram users every second. So hitting that mark of $450 billion a day by 2020, I mean, it doesn't seem that unreachable after all if you think about it. So we're coming to learn that with big data, brands who simplify a customer's decision-making are 115% more likely to be recommended. Just imagine that. You just make it a little bit easier for them according to the corporate executive board. If you make your prospect or your resident's decision easier to make, you're going to win their business. So if you can implement easy ways to make that process simple, just think about all the traffic you could have come to your site and your property. So some tactics to help your residents make the decision to renew leases could be injecting convenience and offering excellent customer service to their living experience. So they won't feel like they have to, they won't feel compelled to move anywhere else because you're serving up all the things that are important to them when it comes to a living experience. We touched on clean slate topic last month. That's actually what our entire webinar was about last month, but it's a trend that's really kind of booming in the social space. And clean slate mentality is in an effort to kind of attract and win consumers, clean slate businesses inject new, fresh, and unconventional tactics. We live in an age of the now where newer, better, faster, cleaner, more transparent, and more responsive brands are appealing to the online consumer. We all know of the importance of reciprocating conversation and engaging with your residents in a time-sensitive manner. That's what these brands are doing. Their aim is to build instant trust by having a positive reputation online, so they're easy to recognize, which means they have a strong brand presence. These brands also operate openly, so we're going to talk about open operation as well. But think about ways that you can inject new, better, faster, cleaner, more transparency into your current marketing strategy. The last one, more responsiveness, is always a demand that residents and prospects have of leasing professionals, right? They want you to respond right now. And although you might not be able to get to it right now, the beauty is that you can find ways to be more time efficient so that the first thing that someone says when their friend or family member is looking for a place to live is, go to ABC apartment community. They always answer my phone calls. They always respond to my emails. So just kind of think of when we're going through this whole list of the ABCs of social marketing, every single one may not appeal to you, but the fact of the matter is if one or two does, you can implement it. Another part of the clean slate concept is that's also attractive to property management companies is these are companies who have just acquired another property, or maybe you've just established yourself as a new property management company or a new property in general. So technically you have no history or heritage to stand behind, right? This concept kind of cancels out history and heritage and shows that a more established property management company, may have your actions are going to speak louder than your history or heritage for that time. You might find yourself in this position where you might be struggling to establish your new property or measure up to the competing properties around you if you're kind of like the new kid on the block, literally. The best thing you can do is offer great customer service, because that's going to speak volumes above a property who's been around for 15 years, but they may only be offering a mediocre living experience. So don't think that you just are fighting an uphill battle if you don't have any history or heritage to stand behind. That's the great concept of clean slate, where you literally have a clean slate. Your story is what you make it, and it's going to attract more residents and prospects over those properties who've been around for however long, but they're not offering a great product and customer service like you are. Clickability is the desirability of a consumer interacting and clicking a hyperlinked object or word. So it's pretty self-explanatory, clickability. How clickable are you? So as marketers, we are always finding new ways to get prospects to fill out guest cards, right? That's like the main thing on your mind is, if you're not leasing, you need to find people that you can lease to, and that's by having them fill out guest cards and submission forms on your website. A new approach could be, just hear me out, making your content more socially friendly, because we're seeing a shift in, print is not dead. Print is alive and well, and we appreciate print. But the fact of the matter is the new age renter, the college students that will become apartment seekers in the next couple of years are more socially savvy. So that means we need to capture these guest cards and these submission forms online. And that means that your content needs to be clickable enough to entice them to come to your website. So ask yourselves, do your tweets come across as forced or maybe a bit spam-like? If so, maybe you could try a new avenue by sharing more visual content on Facebook, maybe like a picture of a floor plan with a link to it in your post, or even sharing an image of your property on Instagram with the link to your website in your bio. May work for you and garner more clicks. So these are just some things to think about. We're having to think ahead of the curve here and think of ways that we can attract people to our website to peruse over the floor plans and whatnot, but how are we going to get them to come to? It's not like if you build it, they will come. No, that's not the mentality anymore. You have to figure out new and clever ways to get people to click your hyperlinks, click your content, so that it will take them to your website. Community culture is one of the foundations of resident retention. But you must find the sweet spot in what you think is important and what interests the audience when it comes to content. And that could be hard to do. But finding out what's relevant to your brand and your audience is a start to building community culture. And it's not as hard as you think. Culture is built from connections, and it takes more than one person to create culture. It literally takes a group of people. It all starts by inserting your community, your brand, in the conversation. Don't wait to be invited. There's no need to worry about how to start the conversation. That's off your shoulders, because conversation online is going on all around us as we speak. If you're on Twitter right now, you're using our hashtag FRMSchat, but you see a flood, an inflow of tweets coming in about every topic under the sun. I mean, just even look at the trending topics in your Twitter feed. They're just all over the place, right? That means conversations are being had everywhere. And this is an example that you see on the screen here of making it easy for your residents and your prospects to connect with you and really be part of the conversation. You can share your social networks and your custom hashtag, And you'll be so surprised as to how you can ignite community culture just by saying, hey, talk with us, have a conversation with us. We want to know what you want to talk about. Social media in general is so powerful, but you must make it easy for others to connect with your brand. Giving them hard work really equates to them not wanting to do it. So like this really clever board here, this just looks like it's a frame you can get from your local Target or Walmart, and you create a poster and just pop it around your community, and there you go. Another great part of creating community culture is you're not part of a community if no one knows who you are. What better way to retain your residents than by giving them a shout out and showing them your appreciation? Now, we're going to have a webinar with Nadine Green coming up in October where she's going to tell you the do's and don'ts of kind of like social media in the multifamily space. So for this example, I would say that if you're going to recognize your residents, that you most certainly need to get a photo release from them, signed from them. And then I would also, either not use their name at all or just use their first name just to protect their identity. We're going to delve into some of that stuff later on in October, but just kind of want to give you a teaser and get you prepared. And make sure you send us questions and send us questions through the chat box and send us questions through the Twitter chat so we can collect those questions, and we'll have questions to ask Nadine when it comes time for her webinar. Another great way you can create community culture is by being less self-serving and share content that your residents and prospects actually want to talk about. Decor tips are always a slam dunk when it comes to content that appeals to the resident or prospect. We see demographics on, say, Pinterest, for example, are females ages 18 to 35, and that's the largest demographic that uses Pinterest. That's a great place to share decor tips. Number one, because women, whether they be part of the family unit or they're single, are the decision maker in the household. So what better way to attract the person who is probably going to have the final say-so and sign that lease by going through Facebook and sharing these really gorgeous photos, or going through Pinterest and sharing pins. I think this might be the last C word. The C words were a really big hit in the social space, but think of crowdsourcing as social outsourcing where everyone benefits. So you have one job, but you're getting multiple people to do it, creating less work for you at the back end, but these people are enjoying it just as much as you are. We all know there's power in numbers, and crowdsourcing involves getting a crowd of people to help you with a task that used to take one person. So essentially, it's building your audience to help promote your brand and getting that same audience to promote your brand for you. Shared this last month, but it was pertainable today. Coca-Cola ran an Instagram campaign called Take It to the Park, hashtag Take It to the Park, where they used crowdsourcing to generate thousands of photos of Instagram users and Coke advocates sharing images of their favorite park. And other brands are taking to the social space and following suit to build exposure and build connections where the powerhouse behind their efforts is their very own customer. Imagine that. Okay, so we've made it out of the C's. We're in E's. We've skipped a couple letters, but that's okay. Engagement is probably one of the most recognized terms in the social space, only because it's essentially the backbone of all online activity. Engagement is all about storytelling. It's all about experience sharing and question asking and calls to action. Without engagement, you'd probably feel like you're tweeting, commenting, liking, and sharing content in a dark room, because we all need to know if people can hear us. We all need to know and be recognized that you're here. These are all questions that engagement will answer when we're in the social space. So at a surface level, the basis of a leasing professional's job is to lease. I mean, it's literally in your job title. But we know it's really to engage and connect with your soon-to-be resident, right? If you don't know that, now you know. So there's a lot of earned trust and a lot of psychology involved in a leasing professional's job because the resident is entrusting their personal belongings, their family, and even maybe their pet with your community by living there. So when someone signs their name on a lease, don't discount that. Be proud that you earned that person's trust and that they're entrusting you to have all of their most valuable assets in your community. Really take pride in that was a job that only you could do. So what if you changed your approach a little and stopped selling units, stopped kind of discounting the fact that, oh, another lease signed, on to the next one, and started really engaging with prospects and residents? You know, if you find that your selling techniques are not working, you might want to think about being a little bit, humanizing yourself a little bit more and really upping the ante and engaging with your residents and prospects. Ask them questions. Make note of what their kind of hot button selling points were, and make sure you remind them of that so that they know you were listening. And once you do things like when people really understand that, oh, this person really was listening to what I was saying, you'd be so surprised at how as much as an increase you'd see in signed leases. I bet your leases would boost and increase in no time if you really take the time to stop selling and really engage, and the leases will sell themselves. Moving on, flawsome is a term you may not have heard before. I found a great snippet of a video that describes the term quite nicely. So let's tune into that. See if we can play that here. Well, it looks like we might be having some technical difficulties with the video here, so I'll make sure that we share that link in our follow-up email to you guys. But essentially, the video really touched on the marrying of brands that accept their flaws and say, we're people like you behind this brand, behind this cloak, and we're not afraid to admit it. And the funny thing is, you actually win more consumers over in that respect when you are admitting fault. And these are things that were taboo in yesteryear, where a brand or a business never admitted fault, never said sorry, never tried to be better because of a downfall. But now in the social space, brands are saying, oh, our bad. Because of the technical glitch, we're going to give you 30% off. Or, public is the new private, where everything is shared in the social space. Everything is transparent. And this really wins consumers. So consumers want to see a marriage of a transparent brand with the attitude to admit it. In this dog-eat-dog world of marketing, brands are always finding new ways to outshine their competition. And one of those ways is offering an immersive experience to the consumer. What immersive experience means, if you're taking notes, is this means your consumer is getting to enjoy or interact with a product or service in a new way. So not only are they just using the product or service, they're literally interacting, they're immersing themselves in the product or service. This is usually done by way of visual engagement, where the consumer is pulled into an experience. And I'm going to show you kind of how the multifamily space can use that. So we've found ways to do this in the multifamily space by allowing prospects to dress their space with furniture while they're perusing different floor plans on a property's website. So the great thing is when you're testing, when a prospect is on ForRent.com or your website and they're on your floor plan for your portfolio, so for a property in your portfolio, they're actually testing out what floor plan is a great fit for them. And no one really knows, like you can't just close your eyes and pick out a floor plan until you know if your furniture will fit, right? Especially for people who already have furniture, they're coming into your apartment community. You can't come to an apartment community and test it out by bringing your furniture in and saying, nah, this isn't going to work for me. That's not how it works. The next best thing is to create a room simulator or something that you see here where a prospect can literally click crib or queen bed and drag it into this particular floor plan or whatever floor plan they've landed on and test it out. And this is great because this ties into big data and the decision-making process and making the decision-making process easier for your resident and prospect. So if you go to ForRent.com, you'll find that for most properties, you will have a room simulator such as this where someone can actually dress their room. And this is something that you can grab this from anywhere. So this is just a great way that you can have your prospect immerse themselves into the experience of selecting the right floor plan for them. Instant trust is next, which is a term that's pretty self-explanatory. We actually talked about it earlier today, but it's about gaining and keeping the consumer's trust. And it's vital to any business, really, because especially when you're in the market of leasing a product such as an apartment home, you're not just selling a random product here. You're building the assurance that your apartment community is going to keep your residents and their possessions safe. Instant trust can be established online with quick and timely responses. So we were talking about the responsiveness of open operation and Cleat & Slate brands. Instant trust is earned by, responding to emails and phone calls. And the same goes with the prospect guest card and inquiries. Like if you're not responding to an inquiry, you can really see that prospect going to the next property who will. And let's be real, can you really afford to lose the amount of money a 12-month lease provides to your community just because you didn't have the time to return a phone call or respond to an email? I think not. I think that's a huge, horrible return on investment for not answering a phone call or responding to an email. So some ways that we've seen instant trust earned in the social space is, for this example, this property management company, RAM, does a great job of sharing anything that would help make their brand better. I mean, this is great for reputation management if you think about it. So here you see an example of they recognized one of their maintenance men as being a marvelous maintenance star, if you will. And this is a great example where, number one, it's going to give your team of people, whether they're leasing agents to maintenance professionals, the shout out and the recognition, which helps prevent turnover. And also this is going to help your residents know that they live in a place where they're not going to get this level of maintenance service anywhere else. So we know that all fulfilled maintenance requests play a huge role in retaining residents. That's really a make or break for most residents is how fast can I get my toilet fixed or my AC's busted? How fast can I get it fixed? So sharing content like this is a great way to earn trust. Another great way is appealing on emotions, and we definitely don't want to take advantage of when something negative happens, but on the flip side, we want to promote when something has been turned from a negative to positive. That's something to definitely take pride in when you can shift sentiment and shift the outcome of something that was potentially dangerous to a great outcome. And what you see here is same property management company, Bexley Apartments, that is under Ram's ownership, is sharing the fact that a small fire broke out of the community, but their quick to respond team, as well as the local fire department, changed the outcome of what could have been potentially, who knows what could have happened, to a great outcome. Moving on from instant trust, a hashtag is maybe a term that you are still trying to grasp to this day, and it's now essentially the bread and butter of online conversations. Now, a hashtag, let's not overcomplicate it here. We're using a hashtag right now, FRMS chat, and what you're seeing is if you're just now active on Twitter and if you type in hashtag FRMS chat into your search bar, all the tweets that have been going on this whole session are going to show. So essentially what hashtags do is it provides a more targeted user experience. So it's going to cut the clutter, if you will. It's going to cut the noise in the social space. The great thing about hashtags is this is amazing if you want to conduct a Twitter chat, say a town hall chat with your property, and you have a community-centric or a custom hashtag. All of that stream of information and conversation is going to come through if the hashtag is somewhere within the tweet or the Facebook post or the Instagram post. So this is really great. Another thing is adding a hashtag to your Instagram photo will place that image in the category or categories with the same hashtag. So it's essentially going to create, again, that more targeted user experience. It's almost like a meta tag, if you will. And you can create your own hashtag for your property to customize your brand. And it's very useful for tracking your content and information gathering. So just like any other sites, there are popular hashtags. And what we've done is we've pulled a list of the top hashtags being searched online and in the social space, meaning in Instagram and Facebook and all that. So these are hashtags you're going to want to add to your photo descriptions whenever it's applicable. Now, don't go crazy and add all of these hashtags to one photo. Again, make sure it's applicable to your content. So what you don't see here, which is definitely pertinent to this, is if you're sharing a floor plan photo on Instagram or if you're tweeting about your community, make sure you're tweeting hashtag apartments or hashtag apartment searching or hashtag apartment hunting, because when a prospect is online, they're going to say, I am hashtag apartment hunting. Anyone know of any good places to live? So when they click that hashtag, they're going to find that your property has pulled up in that hashtag search. So make sure you're going outside of the scope that you see here. These are a little bit more general and they're going to get more eyes on your content. But if you want to do multifamily specific hashtags, that won't hurt either. And if this whole hashtag concept is a little bit too much for you to take in, we're going to be sharing an article for you that really breaks down, that's like hashtag 101, if you will. One thing I do want to mention before we move on is hashtags. What you see here is all of these hashtags: photo of the day, pick of the day, Instagram hub, best of the day. None of these are separated by a space, and that's for a reason. So when you create a hashtag, when you space out a phrase, the only part that's connected to the pound symbol will be recognized. So that's why you might see on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, hashtags that are not separated by spaces. This is the only time where it's grammatically acceptable to not add spaces to your phrases is in the social space. We always find exceptions to the rule. Moving on, we live in an era of instant gratification, right? Where we are, as consumers, are expecting bigger. We're expecting newer. We're expecting better. Like that's the whole idea of the clean slate as well. And this is known also as newism. As marketers, we are meeting that demand by constantly creating new products, new services, and experiences on a daily, if not hourly basis. And as a result, the term new and improved has been beaten into the ground and devalued. So people are slapping new and improved on everything, right? And it doesn't really make us think any different of the product or service. But this creates a new opportunity for us as marketers in the multifamily space to promote and advertise from a completely different approach where the new is not a revamped version of the same thing. So we're not slapping new and improved when nothing is new or improved, but we're creating an entirely fresh experience overall. So rather than the same old, adding fresh, engaging content to your social strategy definitely sounds better than repeating the same thing, the same message you've been promoting for the last however many years. Next, we talked about open operation last month. We're going to talk about it again for those of you who weren't able to join us this month. And one thing you can learn from the clean slate idea that we touched on earlier is that communication is two-way and participatory with influencers. This is also known as open operation, operating openly. And most brands used to and still do operate in this space. So it's literally the brand where we don't know who's in there, who's behind the curtain, who's behind that door, and they're saying how great they are to the consumer. Use our product, use our service, we're great. Now, how credible does that sound? Now, brands are moving to this model here where they're creating more of a transparent front in the social space by including an online community of influencers and thought promoters and thought leaders. And consumers are finding these kind of brands more credible with this approach. So, for example, when a friend of yours tells you how great a product or service is, you're more likely to believe them and you're more likely to check that brand out, right? Versus the brand who is saying, we're great, use our product or service. So the same goes when it comes to ratings and reviews. We all have heard the whole thing about ratings and reviews. That's a hot button in our industry right now. And residents become part of the process when they share ratings and reviews on Yelp, on Bing, on Google+. They become invested in the property and they remain retained when a property is saying, thank you for your resident, thank you for your reviewer, thank you for your rating. Next, we're going to talk about opting in. So with a wide array of email subscriptions and text messaging programs being offered to consumers, by choosing to opt in, you're giving them the choice. And consumers expect to gain, because you're giving them the choice, they expect to gain something of value in return for offering their contact information. So it's really supposed to be a symbiotic exchange where in exchange for valuable information and updates, you are getting their information. So opting into email lists and text alerts allows the consumer to receive news and special offers and content that's tailored to their interests. So one example of opting in is maybe when you go to a website or a company you like, say it's West Elm, who's part of the whole Pottery Barn franchise. One of the first things you'll see, I literally went to their website today, and before I could even get to the furniture and everything, they're saying, hey, we're going to give you 10% off just for signing up for our emails. Don't even have to buy anything. But the next time, should you choose, so they're giving you the choice, the next time you choose to come to our website, just know that you get 10% off because you opted in, you signed up. If I don't want to do that, I can click the X mark. So again, they're giving you the choice to get that 10%. So that kind of incentivizes someone to say, hey, I mean, I don't come here often, but heck, I don't mind getting 10% off the next time I do choose to shop here. So this is something that big brands are using as opt-in examples. So this is, this is an opt-in example via email, but a lot of people are going the text messaging route. So how can you implement this trend today? Well, I've shared this information before, but just in case, like I said, if you weren't able to join us, we've introduced FR Mobile's Text a Resident and Text a Prospect program, which is going to add more ease to your marketing strategy. It's going to really help you with outreach. And the cool thing is that a stat shows that most people would rather be, people are on the go, they'd rather be contacted via text message than any other form of communication. So with this, you can attract more renters, so more apartment shoppers. You can keep them excited about your community while helping you outshine your competition. So this is an easy-to-use tool that helps you amplify your reach and capture more apartment shoppers. And with FR Mobile's Text to Resident, Text to Prospect, a community like yours can easily connect with residents and prospects and renters who have opted in to receive important information and news. So this is going to make your connecting with your residents and prospects easy, giving you the opportunity to keep in touch. And I believe we're still running a promotion where the first 100 customers to sign up for a 6-month text to resident, text to prospect agreement, you're going to receive 60 days free. So that's 2 months locked in for you. So if you're interested, just pay attention to this information right here, and feel free to text TAR demo to 47-368, and we will help you get on board with that if you're interested. Moving on, sentiment is kind of just a fancy word. Like, let's kind of simplify it, right? Fancy word for examining a piece of content, like maybe a tweet or a resident review on Yelp or some other place, and looking at that content, looking at those words, engaging if that is of a positive, neutral, or negative sentiment. The definition of sentiment analysis is using stats or machine learning methods to extract and identify and characterize the sentiment content of text. So simplified again, it's finding words that indicate if someone is either for or against, if they like or dislike something, and deciphering if the object of review is good versus bad. So sentiment analysis is based on subjective impressions, not facts. And it gauges audiences, or it gauges your audience attitude, emotions, and opinions. So again, it's not based on fact, it's based on feeling. So sentiment analysis helps brands like multifamily communities with insights into flame detection, meaning this is the ability to put out a potential online rant before it turns into a full-blown status, or sentiment analysis helps us gauge consumer perception, and of course is vital to reputation management. So ultimately, sentiment analysis is going to help you better gauge your audience's level of interest. And let's face it, brands play the they love me not game all the time. We in the multifamily space, especially as apartment communities, it's really hard for you to gauge after you've given a tour of your community if that person is someone that wants to live at your community or not. It's just really hard to tell. So sentiment analysis and really paying attention to ratings and reviews is going to help you feel like you're not shooting in the dark here. When you gauge positive sentiment, it's more important, and it's so important that you take action and seize the opportunity to get a positive review from your residents. Well, how can you do this? Well, we've created a printable PDF for you of 3 heavily used review sites in the industry, and you can simply print them and cut them out to send them to, or you can send them to your professional printer here. And either way, you can print them out and have them sitting on your desk in your leasing office, ready to go whenever a prospect or resident comes in and says that they had a great experience with your community for whatever reason. You can hand this to them and say, well, would you mind sharing this on Yelp or Google Plus or Apartment Reviews? So that's something that we have available for you toward the end as well. So second screen, or second screening as it's often called, refers to the practice of actively participating in more than one media experience on more than one electronic device. So we're all guilty of this, where most of the time you'll find yourself watching TV with your laptop in your lap, or watching TV with your tablet in your hand, and you're catching up on, say, maybe emails. Like this chart shows, the most of the time that when we're participating in second screening, you are more than likely catching up on emails, or you're going to be browsing the internet, or active on Twitter or being active on Facebook while you're watching TV or something like that. And this usually takes place during commercials or kind of during some downtime. And a lot of times you're going to be tweeting about the show you're watching, or sharing your thoughts on Facebook. The most classic example I can think of is whenever The Bachelor is on, my Facebook home feed is flooded with all of my friends talking about every girl on The Bachelor and if she's a good fit for whoever the guy is. And now, since Facebook has hashtags, they're using the hashtag The Bachelor or ABC The Bachelor. So most times a show will have its own hashtag. You'll see that in the upper or lower right or left-hand corner. And these shows are, and television networks are actually encouraging you to participate in second screening. So they're not really fighting this whole mentality of, they're not paying attention to my show. If you can't beat them, join them. So they're actually saying, all right, we know this is the user behavior of consumers these days, where attention spans are getting shorter. People are using more than one electronic device. Let's just embrace it and make it work for us. So we're seeing people use custom hashtags for a show. Now, I have another video, but I don't believe that's going to play, so I'm going to skip over that, but it just kind of talks about second screening. So how do we keep up with a society that's become a multi-screen culture? How do we do that? Well, the mentality is, if you can't beat them, join them. We know that attention spans are decreasing, along with the opportunity to leave a lasting impression. So times to capture their attention are decreasing. People are busy in general. That's why people are on their email while watching TV. That's why people might be shopping for apartment communities while watching TV on their laptop or on their tablet. So that's why it's up to us to capture a prospect's attention when they are browsing the internet for a place to live during a commercial break. So as second screeners ourselves, I can raise my hand. I'm definitely guilty. We've created an internet experience for your prospects on your ForRent.com internet ad. So whenever someone Googles apartments for rent in so-and-so city, your apartment community on our website will populate at the top of the Google search. And we have designed your internet ad to engage with and capture the attention of a web browsing prospect. Double Encore reports that second screening is used by over 85% of mobile device users monthly, with over 40% doing so daily. Again, I can definitely put myself in that category. I always have a device in hand, whether it be a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, and that's the behavior of really anyone. So again, if you just want to jot that stat down for your own use, it's by Double Encore, and they reported that second screening is used by over 85% of mobile device users monthly, with over 40% doing so daily. One great example of a brand thinking off of the cuff and capturing the attention of second screeners is Oreo during the Super Bowl or the big game, which we're suggested to call it. And when you notice, if you can look back on the Super Bowl or the big game, you remember that a minor detail like the blackout occurred, right? Where all of the power went out after, I believe, Beyonce performed. And being able to adapt and adjust to unexpected events like this is vital for any brand in the social space, but it's hard to think on your feet when something like that unforeseen happens. So Oreo took a very small approach, but really the ROI was great. So they tweeted out an image of just an Oreo cookie that says, "You can still dunk in the dark," with their brand, with their logo. And this tweet garnered close to 16,000 retweets within the matter of minutes. Why? Because people are second screening during an event like the big game. They're on Twitter. They're talking about every little thing going on during the game. And best believe they were taking to Twitter to talk about the blackout when they couldn't see anything on the TV. So Oreo was one step ahead, and they didn't see this coming, but they really knew how to react in a short window of time. And this goes to show that people and prospects are very likely to seek out their next living space while consuming television. So inserting yourself into the online conversation will help you to keep their attention if you can figure out ways to think on your feet like Oreo did. Let's transition here to snackable content. I hope I'm not making you hungry here. Snackable content is bite-sized pieces of information, usually image-based, where the meaning can be mentally consumed with ease. It gives depth to your messaging through the visual references and is meant to entice your audience to connect through your story. So literally, when you're sharing content on Facebook or on Twitter, you're giving your people bite-sized pieces of information. So literally, if you're sharing a photo that says caption this, you've done your job. You're giving your audience a job to do. They're going to caption what the image is, and it's a call to action. So this is a great thing about snackable content. It's allowing you to do more leasing while staying active and present in the social space. Leave it to Cookie Monster to ask you if your social content is snackable. I mean, he's the expert, am I right? So ask yourself if your Facebook or your Pinterest or your Instagram content is snackable enough for your residents and prospects. You can kind of measure this by the amount of comments and likes and shares you get. And if you're getting a low amount, know how to adjust your social strategy accordingly. So we're getting to the end. We have a couple more definitions to go, then we'll wrap things up here. So thank you so much for holding tight. We're hoping that you're using hashtag FRMS during this session. But who out there knows what text-to-kit is? Well, text-to-kit is etiquette via text messaging. So having manners while you're text messaging essentially is what text-to-kit is. It's the art of engaging with your audience through text messages while not coming across as too pushy or spam-like. That's the last thing you need to do, especially since a gross amount of people prefer to be engaged and communicated to via a text message. Don't put a bad taste in their mouth. So if you're using the text to resident, text to prospect program, make sure you're being concise and you're adding value, and make sure you're keeping it timely and giving them a job to do, as most calls to action do. So this is something that you can take to heart if you are wanting to go the route of using text to resident, text to prospect, which is amazing. And text message marketing is an efficient marketing tool to interact with residents and prospects. You can practically be guaranteed your message will be read. And HubSpot found that 98% of sent text messages are read. So a tool like text to resident or text to prospect will most certainly work if you have great text etiquette. Spend a few minutes online and you'll realize that photos and videos rule the social space. Word of eye is taking the digital world by storm. You heard it first, people. According to brand consultant Julie Continue, the coined term word of eye, consumers are highly visual these days, and technological advances have turned visual currency into the currency of choice. This means it's more important than ever to use graphics and visuals to build your brand experience in order to encourage your users to share your content. So you can use high quality, interesting photos that capture your community at its best, and be sure to include these images on your website and your social platforms. So visual content is easy to create and share. I mean, after all, Facebook users upload over 350 images per daily, and nearly 4 billion photos have been shared on Instagram. With stats like these, it's extremely easy to see why visual content rules the social space. So make sure you're integrating word of eye trends into your social strategy. It's the visual, show me, don't tell me, that really gets consumers hooked. Now, word of mouth is communication via computer-based means, such as email or chat rooms or groups. So we just finished word of eye. Now we're on to word of mouth. And you might be more familiar with word of mouth, which is marketing started from a conversational brand promotion. So word of mouth is really like where you told your peer group about something. But word of mouth is taking that up a notch and has occurred as more interactions happen online, especially for the tech savvy, the multifamily industry. It's really taking word of mouth and putting it online. So word of mouth can be used to describe how you deliver your community's message to multiple online mediums like your website or your Facebook posts or your internet listings or Twitter, things like that. Now, visual social media is our last term we're going to go over today, which is all about letting the images do the talking. And users online are more likely to engage with brands if the brand posts pictures versus any other type of media. So I encourage you to use your image assets to help tell your story. Again, it's freeing up time for you to lease, and it's engaging with your residents and prospects on a visual level. Now, if you need a jump start on being more visual, we can help you here. ForRent Media Solutions is making it easier than ever for you to stay on trend with highly visual marketing solutions that fit really any budget that you scale to your needs. So visual currency, like I said, is the currency of choice for today's consumers. And according to Satisfax, 53.9% of renters prefer their cell phones as a primary contact method. So again, tar tap, text to resident, text to prospect, things like this are programs that we're implementing because we're studying the consumer behavior of apartment shoppers. So we interact online more than ever, but the opportunity to engage with residents and prospects is still necessary. So you can incorporate these tools like text to resident, text to prospect all of these products that we offer, if you're even thinking as far as 2014 budget, make sure you put this in your budget so that you can utilize all these great offerings we have for you. And kind of to end things, I want to share something on a very, very exciting note. We've been holding it in for quite some time, but now we can share it with you. We're happy to announce that our sister site, Homes.com, has recently launched a national ad campaign that will reach close to 300 million consumers on targeted home networks like HGTV, for example. And what this means to you as a ForRent Media Solutions customer is that collectively, we are turning up the power of lead generation, giving you added exposure in homes, rentals, distribution channel for apartment and homes rental listings nationwide. So we're excited about this. We're very excited about this. So if you want more information on this new powerful lead generator, don't hesitate to contact Discover More at ForRent.com. You see that at the bottom of your screen here. Discover More at ForRent.com, or visit http://bit.ly/homes rentals. What you see here, make sure you visit that today and you can get more information there. So we've covered quite a bit of vocabulary today. It's almost like we took the SATs again, right? Like you feel right back in high school, like you're having to memorize all of these vocab words. But here are some tips that you can put into play today. First, use words and trends that integrate seamlessly into your strategy. The last thing you need to do is cram all of the material we covered at once. That is horrible. I encourage you to go back and listen to this recording. We'll have it up on our YouTube channel soon in the next couple of days, and adopt these words and trends as you see fit, only when and if they apply. The last thing you need to do is just say, all right, I need to learn all of these words and trends and act on all of these, because that way you're spreading out efforts. We would much rather you say, okay, I find open operation most pertainable or most, relatable to our current strategy, or I find clickability, like I can find new ways to make my content more clickable. So take one or two of these concepts, play around with it, and then when you get comfortable, add some other ones, in stages. Don't cram it all in at one time. And another great thing you can do is stay on top of trends by accessing informational hubs. Like, for example, we always love to go to Mashable.com. That's like the end-all, be-all of social media. It's like if anyone knows it first, it's Mashable. So make sure you're going to Mashable and HubSpot and other places. Our Your Solutions blog is a great asset for you to gain any type of resourceful information. And we'll be sharing some links to our Your Solutions articles in just a few seconds here. But definitely utilize places where you can get information. Another great thing is learn by example. I mean, what better way to learn other than studying the behavior of what Coca-Cola did, for example, with their hashtag Take It to the Park crowdsourcing campaign, or, looking at Flossom brands like Avis. These are great examples of larger brands and brands that are outside of the multifamily space that are doing great things with all of these concepts we talked about. So make sure you learn. Now, considering how much ground we've covered today, we're going to give you some links that you can and these are all snackable links, so you can take all of these links and just kind of chew on it mentally and digest it and really think about it so you can integrate them into your strategy. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, if you're on the go-to panel, I'm actually going to chat all of these links out to you right now. And if you didn't get those, that's no problem. We will share these links in our follow-up email with you, as well as once I get out of the webinar and I get onto the Twitter chat, I'll log in as Apartments for Rent, so you'll know it's me. And I will actually share all of these links with you there as well. Another thing I'm going to do for you is, we had a question come in that asked if I was able to email the slideshow. What I do is I usually will host all of these slides on ForRent.com, and I will share the entire deck with you there. Another thing we do is we record this webinar, so if you want to listen to it or share this webinar with someone else, this recording with someone else, we will have it up and running on our YouTube channel in just a couple of days for you to get that. So not only can you get the slides, you can actually watch and listen to the recording as well. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have. We are gearing up to announce our winner of the gift card. So I'm happy to take any questions you have right now, but I'm going to go ahead and go forward with the gift card winner so I can jump on Twitter and talk to you guys there. And the winner is at Nancy10Eddy. That's at symbol NANCY number 10 EDDIE. So we are so happy for you, Nancy10Eddy, for participating in today's hashtag FRMS chat. You guys, it's as easy as that. Your participation is rewarded. We give you a little social media pat on the back via shout out, and we give you a little gift card in the mail, so we'll pop that in the mail. What we ask of you is for you to DM, direct message us on Twitter, so we can get your mailing address, and we will pop that in the mail to you, and we appreciate your participation. So I'm just really going to wrap things up here and just say that I appreciate all of you sitting in and learning these social marketing vocab words and the ABCs of social marketing. We hope that you can take these ideas and integrate them into your strategy, and remember, don't cram them. Use them as they're relatable and attainable and scalable for your social strategy. We ask that you create conversation with us. It's all about connection, right? So make sure you follow and you share and you discover all the great things and assets we have to offer you as a collective brand on our Facebook, on our Twitter, and on our Pinterest account. You can find us on all three of these pages at APTS for Rent, and we will be sure to engage with you on all of these platforms. So make sure you go there. And last but not least, we're going to be sharing our September social media training calendar with you. All of these are free for you. So the great thing is, if you are wanting to engage in social media but you're not just quite sure how to, we can be able to share all these trainings with you for free. So we're going to chat out that link for you as well. So on behalf of ForRent Media Solutions, I appreciate your time, and we're going to end things here. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.